Welcome to the What is Stoicism podcast.
The bare facts of an event are often just a small part of a larger story. What actually happens, the raw, unadorned reality, is quickly surrounded by interpretation, disagreement, and commentary. Before long, the simple facts are buried beneath layers of opinion. You can see this everywhere. A 24-hour news channel rarely presents events without analysis. Instead, it fills its airtime with competing viewpoints and speculative interpretations. A sporting event isn't just the match itself. It's accompanied by predictions, commentary, and endless post-game narratives. Political debates are perhaps the clearest example. Facts are filtered, reframed, and often obscured by interpretation. Surrounded by this constant stream of commentary, it's no surprise that we begin to do the same thing in our own minds. We don't just observe events, we interpret them. We analyze whether what happened was good or bad. We speculate about future consequences. We tell ourselves stories, and in doing so we often amplify our own distress. But unlike a television network, we're not obligated to fill airtime. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in his meditations, interpretations aren't always necessary. Quote, "You don't have to form an opinion about this and trouble your mind. Things themselves have no inherent power to form our opinions." End quote. This is a striking idea, especially in modern times. It suggests that much of our anxiety doesn't come from events themselves, but from the extra layer we add on top of them. The interpretation is optional. If we can discipline ourselves to stick closer to the facts, to what actually happened rather than what we think it means, we can spare ourselves a great deal of unnecessary mental disturbance. And when we do form opinions, they should be our own, carefully examined, rather than absorbed unquestioningly from external sources. Marcus reinforces this with another powerful reflection. Our principles, he says, only perish when the thoughts that support them are extinguished, and we have the power to rekindle those thoughts at any moment. If we're capable of forming the right judgment, then what lies outside the mind has no authority to trouble it. To stand straight, in his words, is to reclaim that authority. This emphasis on careful judgment aligns closely with the teachings of Epictetus. In one of his discourses, titled, "How Many Ways Are There for Impressions to Arise?" he outlines 4 distinct types of impression. 1. Things that are the case and appear to be the case. 2. Things that are not the case and do not appear to be the case. 3. Things that are the case but do not appear to be the case. And 4. Things that are not the case and yet appear to be the case. The philosopher's task, Epictetus says, is to avoid error in all 4 scenarios. This is no small challenge. It requires training, it requires discipline and clear thinking. How do we develop this ability? Through the study and practice of philosophy, particularly logic, and through refining our understanding of what's truly good and bad. The better we understand Stoic principles, the better we become at distinguishing truth from falsehood and reality from appearance. We develop the capacity to pause, examine, and respond wisely, rather than react impulsively. Epictetus illustrates this with a stark example: death. If death appears to us as something terrible, we may instinctively fear it. But philosophy reminds us that death is unavoidable. If something can't be avoided, then treating it as an evil only guarantees distress. What shall I do, Epictetus asks? Where shall I run to escape it? The answer, of course, is nowhere. This reinforces a core Stoic teaching. Much of our suffering arises from wanting things to be different from how they are. We desire outcomes we can't control. We resist realities we can't avoid. The Stoic remedy is to align our desires with what is truly within our control, namely our character. If we define good as virtue, courage, wisdom, justice, and moderation, and bad as their opposites, then everything else becomes what the Stoics called indifferent. These external things aren't inherently good or bad. Their value depends on how we use them. When we internalize this distinction, our relationship with impressions changes. We become better at recognizing when something merely appears bad but isn't. We become more skeptical of our initial reactions. We become less likely to be carried away by fear, anger, or desire. We begin to see more clearly. And in Stoicism, this kind of clear thinking is freedom. When we stop adding unnecessary interpretations to events, we lighten our mental load. When we examine impressions carefully, we avoid many errors. When we ground our judgments in reason and virtue, we become less vulnerable to the shifting narratives of the world around us. We no longer need to fill our minds with endless commentary. We can return instead to the facts and to the freedom of forming our own judgments.